In this episode of the Locked On NBA Big Board Podcast, James and I, we're going to do something a little bit different for you today. We are going to talk about Baylor freshman VJ Edgecombe, who some people think is one of the most safest prospects in this class. But we are going to break his game down from the lens of a player development coach. We are going to focus on the areas that we think VJ really needs to work on this summer. Stay tuned. Big shout out to each and every person that has made the Locked On NBA Big Board Podcast your first listen of the day. And in this case, it's your second listen because we just dropped an episode a couple hours ago about Cedric Coward. We discussed should he stay or should he go. So please check that out. We also did one on Carter Bryant the day before. But this episode is about VJ Edgecombe. We are putting on our player developmental glasses or lenses, and we're going to talk about the areas that we think VJ Edgecombe really needs to improve on this summer. But before we get into this episode, I want to let you know that this show is sponsored by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. So check it out. And also, whatever NBA team you support, we have a newsletter just for you. Check it out, lockedondaily.com. It is your one-stop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox every single day. Check it out, lockedondaily.com. Whether your team is in the play-in, whether your team is a contender, or your team is preparing for the NBA draft. Check it out, lockedondaily.com. If you're not subscribed to the Locked On NBA Big Boy YouTube channel, I'm not sure what's taking so long, but please subscribe, like, share, comment, click the bell so you can be notified every time we drop an episode, because I got this ridiculous goal. I said it 2 episodes a day, and we're going to touch on a wide variety of topics, from whether guys should stay in school, go to the draft, what we think their offseason workout should be. Of course, we're going to have our mock drafts and big boards and recaps from Portsmouth. So stick with us. All right, let's get down to business. VJ Edgecombe, projected top 5 pick. I don't know if James has him in his top 5, but I'm in that range. He had a phenomenal summer last summer representing Bahamas at the Olympic qualifiers. He had an up and down freshman season at Baylor. We've covered it at length throughout the season. You can go back and look at past episodes on VJ Edgecombe. I've started to come around to his game. I had it was a wave. He was very high coming into the season. Then I soured on him a little bit. And then I started to watch him a little bit more. And then I started to like him. Then I thought, you know what? This guy is safe. And now I'm on another round of evals. And I don't want to overthink it. But he's got some clear holes in his game that I think he really needs to improve on. So, James, I want to hear your thoughts on VJ Edgecombe overall as a prospect, what you like about his game, but also the flaws that you think he really needs to hone in on this summer.
So I have VJ Edgecombe in the 5, 6, 7 range. Obviously, like when you see him on film, great athlete to the point where I think he's 6'3", and I don't think it matters that he's 6'3" because he's that athletic. He shot the ball well at times. At times he didn't shoot the ball well, but I do buy that he will be a decent enough shooter at the next level. I mean, he shot almost 79. He shot 78% from the foul line, and on a good amount of attempts, almost 5 per game, he shot 34% from 3. I know he did have a stretch at the beginning of the year where he couldn't hit a shot to save his life. So I like him. I think he does have upside as a best case scenario, like a second best wing playmaker on the team, because I do think he does pass the ball well in the sense that maybe not in pick and roll, but he's very good at attacking closeouts, and he can find guys and he can make plays. But I've said it several times, again, for the first-time listeners, I think he's the ultimate role player. I think he's the guy that you put next to the guy, and not a role player in the sense that you don't run action for him. I do think you run offense for him. I just don't think he's your franchise guy. I think he's your co-star to, whichever team is drafted he's drafted to. So, like, let's say, for example, he ends up in Charlotte. I think that's a great spot for him because you're not asking him to be the primary ball handler, or even necessarily the secondary ball handler, but he'll have an opportunity to play off of guys. And I think that's the best case scenario for him. But there are things that I think he can work on because maybe he does have something a little bit more, and it's just a matter of opportunity. But we'll address those strengths and weaknesses a little later.
All right, my question for you is, if he reaches everything, maxes out on his potential, who can he be? Like, what type of player can he be?
I don't think he has the dynamic. He's an athlete, but he doesn't have the off the dribble game, or I don't necessarily call him a great playmaker, but like you think of Zach LaVine, who is a great athlete, but Zach LaVine is also in his prime a 27 point per game guy. I don't think VJ has that level of explosiveness. I've seen Victor Oladipo. I don't know how much of that is realistic as far as complexion comparison versus actual game. Now, are they going to measure out similarly? Possibly, but I do think Victor was, granted, he was 2 years older, I believe. He did 3 years at Indiana. I think he was more dynamic on the ball. But if you think he can become a Victor Oladipo type before the knees went out, then I can see that too. Just athlete, good enough playmaker. And I think those Victor Oladipo teams, they pushed LeBron in them, I think 6-7 games. But Victor's like ceiling, it took him a while to get there. So I think VJ, with the right opportunities, the right reps, he could reach a Victor Oladipo type, but that may be a little harder than what I think it is going to be.
Yep, let's give a little background about VJ Edgecombe. Again, freshman at Baylor, listed at 6'5", 180. I'm not 100% sure the 6'5" is accurate, but he averaged 15 points, 5.6 rebounds, 3.2 assists, shot 43% from the floor, 34% from three, 78% from the foul line, and also averaged about 2.7 stocks per game. I think he is the best athlete in this class, at least in the first round range, as far as just pure explosiveness. Is an excellent rebounder from the guard position. The 3.2 assists per game is good. I think he's more so of a connective passer than playmaker, but maybe he does have some more playmaking juice. The 3-point shooting, solid. You'll take 34%. But when I dig a little bit deeper into the numbers, I have some concerns there. But overall, he is an excellent NBA athlete. He is a highlight reel acrobatic finisher around the rim. However, the numbers and the athleticism are on two different pages, but he looks to finish strong with emphatic dunks. He has good bursts off the dribble. He does have the speed to get into the paint. I think that he does have like some soft touch finishes and floaters in his package, so he's not always looking to just finish directly at the rim. He's an excellent transition finisher. He's a guy that I think he can impact games with his hustle and his energy. He wins 50-50 balls. Like I said, he rebounds. He's a connective passer. He does a lot of things, plays with competitive fire. He's tough. There's a lot of things to like. However, I have some real concerns in some areas that I think that he needs to improve on. I mean, everybody has some flaws in their games that they need to improve on. So in the next segment, I'm going to put on my lens as a trainer, and I'm going to talk about, we're going to talk about areas that VJ needs to work on this summer to maximize his potential. Have you heard that Skims is making underwear for men? If you've had issues with your underwear, whether it is with fit or comfort or just finding the right style, then Skims has the perfect underwear for you. Their line offers everything from boxer briefs to classic briefs, all designed with the perfect balance of comfort and style. I mean, just listen to some of the reviews. Here is a review from a father who is a traveler. He says, I've always liked a good square cut boxer brief, but what I don't like is when my boxer briefs ride up between my cheeks. And luckily, Skims found a way to create the perfect 3-inch stretch boxer briefs. So that is a real live testimonial. And if you want to have your own testimonial, go to skims.com/lockedonnba, or you can visit one of the Skims stores. Let them know that we sent you. After you place your order, select podcast in the survey and select our show in the drop down menu that follows. Again, skims.com/lockedonnba. There's nothing like the atmosphere of an NBA playoff game. Every bucket, every defensive stop, every moment feels huge. It's the electricity in the arena. And with Game Time, you can be part of it without the stress of last-minute ticket hunting. Game Time makes it fast and easy to get playoff tickets, even when the demand is sky high. So you can save up to 60% on last-minute tickets for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. They have all-in pricing, which means there is no surprise fees at checkout. What you see is what you pay. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Again, terms apply, but create an account, use the redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. All right, second segment. So I'm going to start off with you first. If you were in charge of VJ's pre-draft process and you want him to go as high as he can go, which there's a world that he could go number 3. If the right team likes him, he can go number 3. I think number 3 is, I'm going with Ace Bailey, but I think there is a range there. What's the first thing you are having him focus on and work on this summer? I have in my head what I think he needs to work on, but what is yours?
I think first things first, I want to focus on improving the handle and the creativity. And when I train, I don't feel like you get handles and creativity by cone drills and two ball dribble. No, I'm talking like live action. Again, if you want to show him some stuff to give him the idea, that's cool. But like I think it needs to be all live action reads in a sense. Now again, obviously everybody needs to shoot as many jumpers as you possibly can in the summer. But in my mind, if you're saying, hey, James, I need you to work with VJ, we need to prep for the pre-draft, prep for the season, I'm finding a 6'6", 6'7" athletic wing. We're picking him up, and I'm finding a 6'9", 6'10" big, and it's just going to be all situational stuff. Situational one-on-one. We got 5 seconds on the clock, VJ. You got to score, and you got to see help. Pick and roll. You got the big playing drop, and you got X amount of seconds to score. I feel like that is a combination of working on his handles and working on his finishing, which seem to be the two biggest swing skills for him, really mainly the handle. Because if he becomes a really good ball handler, because I do think he is a good downhill passer, right? And the assist numbers kind of show that. But if he can improve as a ball handler, I think he is a more efficient scorer in the sense that a lot of his rim misses were him just not having a plan if there wasn't a clear path. So I would want to see VJ work on counters, but I wanted an all live situation. And I know as trainers, you do the best that you can. But if that were me, I'm paying whoever. I'm not rolling out the 5'8" guys with the pads. Not for this one. I want some college dudes. Like, look, hey, you come play, you get NBA experience, but I want 6'6" guys bigger than him. I want big athletic post guys to like show him different looks and see if he can figure it out from there. And again, I do think the shooting, the indicators are there and you can progress, but you can do that, in session 2 of your workout because, that's you and the gun, or that's you, slide threes, catch and shoot threes, or off the dribble threes. You don't necessarily need live action. But me, I would focus on live action reads, working on the handle, working on the creativity, working on the finishing.
I agree. My path would be similar. The first thing that I would have him work on is I definitely would have a team of guys, and it's all situational. And we're going to get him in shape. He's playing one-on-one, but I'm rotating a big and I'm rotating a wing. And the big is basically for drop coverage because when I watch VJ's film, he struggled on pull-up jumpers. He did not make a lot of jumpers off the dribble, only shot 25%. He has a quick first step. He has the speed to get into the paint, but I would like to see him add a little bit more pace to where if he's got a switch and the big is backing up, he knows how to step into that one dribble pull-up jumper. 25% on pull-up jumpers, that definitely has to improve. Now, overall, the jump shot was good, 33% on jumpers. But if you dig a little bit deeper, it's because the jump shot numbers were weighed down by the lack of consistency or efficiency off the dribble. But he did shoot 46%, 47% on uncontested catch and shoot threes. So they left him open. And usually when you have like athletic guards like that, it's normally the opposite. They are normally better shooters off the dribble than they are off the catch. And I think that kind of is a good sign in a sense that it does allow him to play off the ball. Think about guys that are athletic guys that some people think are lead guards, and they're so used to playing with the ball in their hands that they can't shoot off the catch. And so for him, it's the opposite. But I would have him work on the timing, the pace, and the footwork for mid-range pull-up jumpers. But then I would also have him do the situational stuff to where, all right, 5 seconds left in the shot clock. Go get us a bucket. I would like to see him become more of a crafty and creative scorer because I feel like he's getting to the rim just based off blow-by speed. But there also are times where I feel like he doesn't turn the corner like I would like his athleticism suggests, because he's too straight up. You know, the saying, the low man wins. And there are times where I feel like, it kind of works against him that he has such excellent posture that he's not able to get past guys. And some guys who don't have his athleticism or first step are able to match him step for step due to being able to cut off his angles because he's not really low. And then as far as just like looking at the numbers don't always tell the whole story. He shot 31.8% in isolation. So this is where I would like to see him be a little bit more creative. You got the big on you. You should know I'm either going to get this big retreating, I'm going to knock the pull-up jumper down, or I'm going to attack the big, draw two defenders, kick it out. But I think in order to like really maximize your passing as a downhill scorer, you have to be someone that finishes. As far as like the game plan, as far as like having him match up against different style players, whether it's bigs or wings, and you're making it situational, like what are the type of reps, and is there different counter moves? Like what is your main focus when you come up with that game plan?
So if I have him playing two schools of thought here, when we playing the drill and it's all right, you got X amount of seconds to beat the big. Before he even starts that drill, I'm pulling him to the side and I'm saying, VJ, 5 seconds left, whatever time is up on the clock. I want you to back up. Think Ja Morant. I want you to back up, and then I want you to take that big step, and then I want you to react from there. Because, again, he's a great athlete. Like, that's not even me gassing him up. He's a great athlete. If he can get that big to lift up, he has a runway to the basket. That's a clear path. Those are easier finishes for him, right? So that's one thing that I'm doing. But how I would wrap it out is, how does it look like for him? Is he going to be just a pick and roll guy? Sure. Sometimes it's going to be pick and roll. Sometimes it's going to be dribble handoff where he's got a guy locking and trailing. Sometimes he's just going to have to pick in between just making the read. Like it may start off as a dribble handoff, and then you got to read it from there. But ultimately, like I said, I'm finding any 6'7" dude, wherever he's training at, the local colleges, and say, listen, man, there's an opportunity for you to do whatever you got to do. Be as physical as you need to be without beating him up, obviously, but be physical. And I want him to figure it out and give him different looks. So sometimes you need to be in his chest area. And then again, my big, sometimes big, I need you to contest with, I need you to try to block the shot. And I also need you to be Roy Hibbert and do the verticality. And again, I just want VJ to figure it out. And then even before that, before anybody's on the court, we're doing touch finishes. We're working the angles. We're trying to find different spots on the glass like Kyrie does. I'm not saying that VJ has to be Kyrie or even close to Kyrie, but you do need to have that relationship with the backboard and understand that at this angle here, I can do this. At this angle here, I can do that.
And I actually thought he was good at that. He shot about 47% on floaters this year. And again, he has such a unique profile because, like I said, guys with his archetype in a sense. Athletic guards are usually best shooting pull-up jumpers. They struggle off the catch, and they usually are only getting at the right at the rim, and they don't have like soft touch finishes. Like I use Dylan Harper, for example. Dylan Harper has absolutely no floater. He doesn't shoot any floaters. It is all right at the rim, which, nobody can stop him getting at the rim. So I get that. All right, up next, we're going to talk about, to me, the most glaring weakness in VJ Edgecombe's game. It's something that I feel like is not talked about enough, but VJ has a major flaw. And to me, that is finishing at the rim. So, James, now we're going to talk about what VJ needs to do to become a much better finisher at the rim, because we both think that he has some tools to be really good. Question. I got a question for you. Did you know that your Fire TV is also an Xbox? You can turn any TV into your own gaming and entertainment hub with Fire TV Stick 4K devices. No console is required. All you have to do is just grab your paired controller. Subscribers sign in to Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with EA Play included, and you are ready to play. You can dive into hundreds of premium titles from EA Sports College Football 2025 to Call of Duty Black Ops. It is easy for you to stream your favorite shows. It is gaming made simple, and it is all on your Fire TV. You can play high-quality Xbox games at a fraction of the cost of a console. If you already have a console, a Fire TV Stick 4K device is more affordable and easier to travel with, allowing you to take your games or your kids' games with you wherever you go. So check it out at Amazon.com, Fire TV Locked On to get started. All right, last segment. So VJ Edgecombe, depending on who you ask, they're going to tell you that he's the best athlete in this class, one of the most explosive athletes, so on and so on. But the athleticism has not translated to efficiency at the rim. Listen to these numbers. Overall, he shot 53.8% at the rim. If you take away the dunks, he had 33 dunks. He only converted 44.5% of his layups. So that's missing over 60 or around 60% of his layups, 55% of his layups. So then if you take the numbers and you dig even deeper, you take away the layups and dunks that he got in transition. And in the half court, he only finished 48.9% of his shots at the rim and 44% of his layups. Now, for a guy to be that athletic, to shoot only 44% on layups and less than 50% at the rim is very alarming. So I want to hear your thoughts on why you think that he struggles finishing at the rim. Why is it not talked about? And what will you do to help him improve as a finisher at the rim?
So I don't feel like it's talked about enough is because, like you mentioned, he's a great athlete. And, if you type in VJ Edgecombe on YouTube, you're going to see him banging on Mark Few's son, right? You're going to see tip dunks. You're going to see those plays. But if you dig deeper into it, and again, I think part of it is how can I explain it? He doesn't have a lot of variety of shots at the basket. But also, even before he gets to the basket, I'd have to look at like a real shot chart. But there are a lot of like 4-foot shots in the paint that maybe you count as layups, but he shoots them because he doesn't have a counter move. And he had the tendency to try to barrel through guys because he didn't have a counter move. So if you cut the right hand off, he's still going to just try to fight through something right and try to get a shot up. And again, I think those are layup attempts, but we're trying to figure that out in a live action, and we're trying to get him different reads. But also, I think that college basketball spacing does play a difference, or does play a part in the lack of rim efficiency, but it's also not an excuse because, again, we look at like Dylan Harper, who played with one shooter, and he was something like 60% at the rim. With that being said, I feel like VJ Edgecombe, it starts with the film, and it's saying, okay, man, we got to fix these. We got to get you a different diet of layups. It can't be all chest up trying to dunk on guys. You're going to have to use high parts of the glass. You got to think like, yes, I am allegedly 6'5", but I need to watch guys. I need to watch the one hand finish in the same foot. I need to finish with my inside hand. I got to watch guys who are less athletic than me who finish at the rim at a high rate. You got to think of like a Darius Garland who really improved his layup efficiency. Things like that. You have to reprogram yourself to say, my whole life I've been the most athletic dude on the court, but this isn't high school anymore. It's not college. And guess what? In the NBA, this is not, you're not playing 6'9" centers. And if you do play a 6'9" center, he's a great athlete just like you. So,
or he's got a 7'3" wingspan.
Yeah, exactly. So we're starting in the film room. We're watching it. We're taking stuff from the smaller guys. Again, it doesn't have to look like Kyrie, but we're taking stuff from the smaller guys, and we're being more selective with our layups. But also, we're trying to figure out counters. Now, do I think he should be able to attack the one dribble closeouts from the corners? That should be no problem. It's just at the top of the key and then pick and roll and in isolation when there's help coming from multiple angles, he doesn't necessarily have a plan. So we're breaking it down. We're watching the film. We're watching all those misses, and we're trying to figure out what went wrong. And I would venture to say a lot of the misses came from these were just tough shots. Not necessarily saying he doesn't have touch. He just took the wrong shot, and he didn't have a plan, and he doesn't have a lot of options unless it's a clear path. And if it's a clear path, he's going to finish, dunk me. But that doesn't happen in the NBA for too many people outside of like Anthony Edwards.
Yeah. You know what's funny is that when I was doing the research and you look at numbers, right? And numbers can lie. I know there's a saying that numbers don't lie.
Oh, numbers definitely lie.
But when you look at context, right? Yegor Demon shot 63% at the rim.
Yeah, because he probably shot. Okay, I know you're going to keep going, but he was so selective with his layup attempts that unless he was too selective. So I'm not saying you got to be like that, VJ. I'm saying you have to be selective with your layup attempts. And even for VJ Edgecombe, I don't think there's anything wrong with having I know he's not a point guard, or I don't even necessarily think he's a primary ball handler, but that Steve Nash dribble is something that you should always have if you're going to dribble the ball. And that even there, that slowing down is like, okay, I can't get that shot. Let me figure it out.
Here's another one for you. Just looking at these rim numbers, and of course, context is there. Like some guys played with the congested lane. Some guys like Yegor couldn't always get to the lane, but when he got there, it was like a very smart shot. He never took, I shouldn't say never, but he didn't take wild shots in contested traffic, which helped his numbers. But Jace Richardson, who was not on VJ's level of an athlete, converted 69% of his shots at the rim, and he had 5 dunks. So his 68% were layups. However, when I look at the numbers and the stats in the film, a lot of times they counted his floaters as layups, but he has perfectly mastered that I'm getting as far as I can in the paint, but I'm getting it up before the rim protector comes.
And that's shot IQ. That is, I take a layup here versus, you know what? I can't get a good layup. Let me kick the ball out to somebody else. But I will say this. As great of an athlete, and I keep saying great, as great as an athlete as he is, allegedly, this time last year, the Nike Hoop Summit, he measured out at 6'3" with a 6'6" wingspan. So, yes, you got a 40 whatever inch vertical, but those are average measurements for what I deem to be a pure shooting guard. And to me, so Jace Richardson, it's funny. You bring up Jace. I bet you Jace's dad, Jace Richardson, looked at him when he was probably 12 years old. It was like, you know what? When I was 12, I was dunking. You can't dunk yet. So what you need to do is be crafty. You got to be selective. We're going to work on your touch. Whereas VJ's probably been like, you know what? I've been dunking since I was 12. Even he's probably 5'8", 5'9", because you can just tell he's always had bounce. And he hasn't figured out that I can't dunk on everybody. And it's almost like it's an advantage to be super athletic, but you still got to work on your touch, your creativity. You have to be selective with the layups. And that's what Jace Richardson has, even though he's probably 6'2" himself. He just doesn't take tough layups.
But like I said, VJ shot about 47% on floaters. And so he does have some touch around the rim.
But my question is, what do those floaters look like? Are they the wide open, like obvious floater? Or are these floaters where, because sometimes he should shoot more floaters, is what I'm saying. Now he probably converts the ones that he converting the ones that the obvious shots. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
It's the in between ones. That's where I think the at the rim numbers get low for him.
Yep. So what do you think he needs to do to become a better finisher? Like I'll use Jeremiah Fears, for example. Their finishing numbers at the rim were pretty similar, right?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like with Fears, it is clearly a strength core thing. Like he's not able to handle the bump on the contact, and it throws off the angles. And sometimes he's just getting there too fast. And you could tell he's a guy that thrived in high school levels of I'm faster than everybody else and I'm getting to the rim, and it's always worked. Now in college, it's like, wait a minute, this isn't working like I thought. Some of these dudes are, as soon as they give me a bump, I'm not getting the right angle. So I think for him it was a strength issue. With VJ, he is stronger than Jeremiah Fears. He is more, Jeremiah Fears is a good athlete, but VJ is a better athlete. You'd think he'd be able to finish, better, higher at the rim. Different type of athlete. But their numbers are similar. But you hear that as a big knock on Fears. But
well, again, Fears didn't dunk on Mark Few's son. So it looks like, he's the lesser finisher. I will say this about Fears. I don't know if it's as much core strength as him utilizing his Nash dribble as often as he should. I think at times he got caught up, very similar to VJ actually, taking a leg when you should keep your dribble. But you would expect him to do it more because he is a point guard versus VJ, who I think is just a flat out shooting guard. So I think, like I said, if it were me, if they called me, DM me on Twitter and asked me what to do, we're going to start off with the film session and we're going to break down every single what I deem to be bad layup attempt. We're going to grade the layup attempts. How many of these were you just not concentrating? How many of these should you have gone high off the glass? How many of these should you have kicked the ball out instead of forcing a tough shot? And then we just figure it out from there.
If I'm in charge of his development, I'm being creative again. I'm calling Roy Hibbert. Like, Roy, what you doing? All right, I need you to just be this guy that uses your verticality. You're not going to have to move a lot. I need you to just come play help defense, and VJ needs to finish over you. I need you to school him on how you use angles to be a really good defender and how you could use your knowledge of being a good, and of course the game changed on him and that's why he was out. But
shout out to Pero Antich.
And he only shot like 30% from three that series. But anyway, but I would use someone that was a good rim protector, good at cutting off angles, and I want VJ finishing against someone like that. And another guy that I would add, and we can wrap on this. When you look at the numbers, he wasn't an efficient finisher at the rim throughout his NBA career, even at his heyday. But the fact that he was a respectable finisher is Isaiah Thomas. And one day I sat and I studied all of Isaiah Thomas's layups, trying to figure out how are you finishing in the NBA at 5'8", and he mastered angles. He knew exactly when to jump. He always jumped off of 2 feet, and he just knew how to make it so the big couldn't even jump to contest the shot. And so I would look at studying that, because if you can be the type of crafty finisher Isaiah was, along with being, Isaiah was a phenomenal athlete, but his game wasn't based off of athleticism when he was finishing at the rim. It was touch, 2 feet, angles, double pumps. Like, he always knew how to use his body to protect himself from the rim protectors, to the point where they never were able to jump and time his shot. So that is a player that I would also study if I were VJ Edgecombe. Well, that wraps up this episode of the Locked On NBA Big Board Podcast. We're going to have more of these for you again. I got so many ideas as far as content that I want to be creative and think outside the box. You know, we love player development. If you have any players that you want to see us cover for areas that you think that they should work on this summer, let us know. But once again, thank you for making this your first listen of the day. Check out the Locked On newsletter. Don't forget to subscribe, and we are out of here.